Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Zoom focus training for February. And today we are going to talk a little bit more on host coaching. I'm going to share some of the tips that I've implemented the last couple months that have been working really well for me. And I have a new host coaching system update that I'll add to our team SOAR files section so that all of you guys can use and do the new tweaks that I made. So we had an amazing January. We did a team challenge and booked like over 100 shows in that month. And so this month we kind of talked the first week a little bit about host coaching, and we are going to continue that with our Zoom focus this month and stuff too, because we want to make all of these shows that we booked outstanding. And you can ask any of the top 10 show average people. I know I listed them on a fun little tip and stuff when we talked about host coaching in the beginning of the month. They were all sharing some of their awesome host coaching tips, and things that they do to help with sales and stuff like that at their parties. I can guarantee not one of them will tell you, oh yeah, I hardly talk to my host at all, or yeah, we're not in very much contact with each other. Host coaching comes down, or good shows, a high show average, comes down to two things: good host coaching and a good outline or strong, outline for in-person and virtual shows. That's really what it comes down to, is those two aspects. If you have one without the other, it won't matter. It doesn't matter how good your outline is if you have 5 people in your party. And it's not going to matter how good your party is if you have a really weak outline. Luckily for our team, we have a great outline and we have a great host coaching system. So all you need to do is you need to make the decision to make host coaching happen. So there's 2 different ways that I have done this in the past, and it works really well. The first way is you can do a quick 5 to 10 minute phone call with your host. And I posted that in the team page a couple weeks ago. If you have been trying the system where you add the host to the good example and the flop example of shows, and it's not working for you, then I would absolutely change, and tweak and see what you can do to kind of make it better. And so, so with that being said, oh, hang on, what just happened? Okay, so with that being said, we're, I'm going to kind of leave it up to you guys. If you guys, like I said, if you've been trying that and it's not working, try the quick 5 to 10 minute phone call. I did that when I first started virtual parties, and my show average was like 500. It was great. And, talking to the hosts ahead of time, sharing what makes a great show, letting them know that you're going to be sending them tips. It basically does the same thing as adding them to the good example and the flop example. So when you do one of those 2 things, one important key factor happens, and it is you get your host committed to doing the tips you send. If they're not committed to doing the tips, it's not going to matter if you send the tips to them every day. It doesn't matter if you're good about doing that. If they're not committed to doing it, it won't make a difference. So you have to do one of those 2 things. And if someone has another idea, I would love to have you share if you found something that's worked for you to get them committed. But those are the 2 ways that I personally have tried, and either way works great. So phone call, the example phone call I have is in the Team SOAR page. And you can also use the host coaching system, and you can add them to the good example and the flop example. So we're going to just kind of screen share, and I'm going to share with you guys a couple of the tips or tweaks, excuse me, that I've been doing to switch up my shows since I started doing block parties. Okay, so let me just go to the new host coaching system. Okay, so a lot of it's the same. I still am adding them to the good example and the flop example. It's still the same, where you have the language right here. When you usually see a break in the paragraph, you know what I mean? That's when I send a different message. So like when it says right here, ask them to scroll through the good and bad show using this language. What I do when I'm ready to send this to my host is I copy, and then I go right over to Messenger. I'm just going to walk through the steps. I go to Facebook. I go over here to Messenger. and I will type in the message and my host name, and if I wanted to send them a message, you know what I mean, like Wendy Dillon, Wendy F, whatever, then I'll click on her name and I'll go ahead and paste it right here. And that's how I do my host coaching in the mornings. If you want to copy it right from your computer, you can also have a copy of it in your phone and just send it from there too. I've done both. So either way will work. All right, so when you see a break in the paragraph, so there's a space right here and it says send her the two group links so they're easy for her to find. I make it as easy as possible for my host to do the tasks that I am assigning them. So if I add them to the two show examples, I'm adding both of those groups right after I send this message. I'm adding the link to Janae's show and the link to Anna's show right after, so that all they have to do is click the link. They don't have to look on their notifications. They don't have to find the groups. It's easy and quick for them. So when you see a break in this system, that's when you send a new message. Super easy. I do that. The main key with the good show and the flop show is you want to give them enough time to look at it. So I do it at least a week before their show. So if I had shows starting this Friday, I would have sent them the examples to look at last Friday. Okay. So that way they have Friday, Saturday, Sunday to look at the examples. And if they still haven't looked at them, then I can still follow up with them on Monday, because I'm not sending their first inviting tip until Tuesday when you start shows on Fridays. Does that make sense? You don't want to, I mean, I've done it quickly if I have to, but most of the time I like to give them plenty of time to look. And that's when I get the best response from my hosts, because they have the weekend. They're not usually working and stuff like that. It's usually a pretty good time for people. All right, so when the host replies, what she noticed with the two groups, then I send the next message. When she replies with what she noticed, then I send this one. Again, you just copy and paste. All the words are right here for you to use. And then after that, I play with my hosts. I send them gifts. I send them, funny emojis. I joke around with them. I want to create that relationship so that they want to host with me again. I also want to create that relationship so that when I ask them about the business, they feel comfortable enough with me to say yes. So, be fun, be playful, and when they say, when I joke with them, which host do you want to be? Duh, of course they want to be the good host. Then I send them a fun emoji of a high five or a go team, emoji or something or a GIF. So super easy, play with them, have fun, make your show and the host coaching system fun. All right, so the week before the show starts is basically the same. All the inviting tips are basically the same. The main thing that I've changed since January is I have my hosts add 5 groups of 50. It sounds way more doable than when you say 250 people or 200 people. So 5 groups of 50. Also, when they're inviting in those 5 groups of 50, I tell them to take a short break in between so they don't get put in Facebook jail. It's all right here in the message. And so that's the only thing that I've really tweaked or changed about inviting. That's the first day, you add them to the group. If the host brings up a good question like, oh, I'm worried, I don't want to add people to the group if they don't want to be added, tell her not to worry. People get to choose if they want to join or not join. So that concern is totally alleviated. Guests can choose. And then again, I send the group link so they can easily access their group. Since I've been doing that, I don't have any hosts say I can't find it. I'm not sure where to go. How do I invite? All of that problem is eliminated because the group is right there in their messenger feed for them to go to easily, quickly. Then since I'm doing a block party, this is the message that I send right after. Just so you guys know, the emojis will not copy, but I have them in there sometimes for you guys to just see kind of what it looks like. So after I send the group link, then I'll say above is the group to join. Keep me posted on how many guests join so I can mark down your special prize. I've been giving my hosts a prize when they hit 40 guests. This is a block party, which means there's multiple hosts in the same group. This will absolutely benefit you because the more people in the group equals the more that comment and like the post, and the more that Facebook algorithms will show it to more of your guests. All my shows have been higher with this fun block party concept. That way your host will be committed. They won't care that they're in a block party, and you're at least addressing that issue. 2 days before the show starting, we're still having them post to their wall. 1 day prior, they send the individual messages. Those are exactly the same. One new thing that I've been doing with my shows is I've been doing a welcome new members message. And this is the message: welcome to our new members and thank you for joining our party. Send me a private message to ask for the online catalog to earn 20 bonus tickets towards the grand prize drawing. Make sure to share which host invited you. It makes my job a little easier. If they don't share, then I can just go to the group and see who invited them, but it saves me a little bit of time if they share who invited them. Now, when I do this in my shows, I'm going to show you guys a quick tip if you don't know how to do that. Let me just go. It's not going to be a super good example because I don't actually have a show that has new members starting, but we'll just go to one of my old groups. I'm sure there's a couple new members. Okay, so over here on the right hand side, when you're in a group, I wait a couple days till I get a good chunk of people, you know what I mean? So like I'll usually do this late Wednesday night or Thursday morning for the first time. And you can see right here under members, oh, there's no new ones in this one. Hang on one second, guys. Let me find a better example. We'll try this one. Okay, so now typically when we're adding new members to our groups, you will have like 50 new members, 70 new members, 60 new members, okay? This is an example, but it only has 2 because this is a block party I did last week, okay, if that makes sense. So right here, when you look under members, when you have new members join, Facebook will tell you how many have joined. You have 2 new members this week. Write a post to welcome them. All you have to do is click this right post right here, and it will automatically tag all the new members for you. Now, I do this twice in the show, so that's why there's only 2 members. I've already welcomed the members in this party, but that way you guys can see that Facebook makes it super easy for you. You don't have to tag any of the new members. It automatically does it for you. And like I said, I do this Wednesday night or Thursday morning, and it just has a cute little graphic. Hold on, I'll search for the graphic. It will just bring up, I like to feature a power tool. So it's the quick cooker, and it just has a little welcome in the corner to make it my own, so it's not the quick cooker picture. And so I added welcome, let's have some fun. So the same, it's a similar picture when I welcomed for the second time. So I've started doing that in my parties, and it's great because it gets that 2-way message going between you and your guests. So it really works well. And the other picture that I have is like, I don't know, a 12-inch skillet, and it has like a welcome in the bottom right message or something like that. So I'll usually welcome the new guests when I get a good chunk invited, and I'll do that Wednesday night or Thursday morning for a show that's starting Friday. And then I'll usually do another welcome to the guests that have joined again on Saturday morning. So that way I'm hitting 2 big groups of people that joined. I'll do the same message. It'll tag all the new guests, and then I'll post. I have 2 different welcome pictures that I post. So I put this in the host coaching system just because I didn't know where else to put it. It doesn't really go in the outline because it's not on a day that the show starts. It's kind of a random, you decide when you want to do it. So, but it's really been working well to start those 2-way messages going. And when the 2-way messages start going, then they will be more than likely to hear or see your message when you message them about other things like the business or hosting. All right. So this is the main thing that I've changed. So the day of the show, and I'll kind of explain it right here. When you do a block party, I start a group message with all my hosts, and I'll send messages to the group, but I'll also send messages to the host individually. It's important to do both because you don't want to ask the group if they're going to help you get bookings. Terrible idea. You want to ask them individually. You also don't want to ask the group, hey, who wants to join my team? Terrible idea. You want to do it individually. So I do both a group message and individual messages in my host coaching now that I'm doing block parties. It really doesn't take that long each day. I mean, last week when I had 7 parties going and stuff, it maybe took me 5 or 10 minutes to send all my messages because I'm just forwarding them and copying and pasting them after you get the first one in. So here's a couple of examples of what I've been doing. the host group message. I'll send, hello, February 7th hosts, and I'll tell them the tip of they want to post once a day. Now, when it's a block party, you don't need 4 or 5 hosts posting every single day. So I assign 2 hosts a day to post. That way, if one forgets, we still have a fun interactive post going on. So I explained that to them. I explained to them that I'm adding them to the host only group where they'll have example posts to pull from. And that is this group link. This is the only group link in this host coaching system because it's available for all the team members to use. And we love David Berger because he's updating the host group each month. So we really appreciate him. Then I send this message, and this has my shows are running 6 days now, so Friday through Wednesday, and it will tell who is posting what day. And so I just, type that up real quick, I send it, and then that way they have their assignments. And then I will put, I'll just say, like, give me a thumbs up if you know what to do. So then to my host individually, I reiterate that. I send a little quick voice clip message, and then I'll send the first tip of the day that it's super important to do a daily post on their assigned day in the show. I have it both places just so they make sure to see it. The next day, this is a huge, huge thing I changed, and it's been amazing, great results. So we used to ask our hosts on days 4 or 5 or something like that to partner with us to get bookings. Well, I got a tip from the amazing Cami Cruz, and she sends this on day 2 because she says your hosts on day 2 are still doing all the tips that you're giving us, which is kind of hilarious, but it's true, right? They're still committed. So when she sends it on day 2, she has a lot more hosts sending out the messages to get bookings for her. And I've noticed since I started tweaking and changing this in January, I probably have 75 or 80% of my hosts sending out the messages to get bookings for me, versus before I would maybe have like 2 out of the 7 or something like that. So the numbers have been majorly improved with my hosts willing to send out the messages to see if their friends want to book a party. Now I'm doing messages to people as well, but that's just one of the ways that I get bookings is to partner with my host, and I give them a really nice gift if they get 3. I'll give them like a $20 item. Right now I'm doing the fluted cake pan. Or they can pick a $22 item of their choice. That's only if they get 3. If they get me 1 or 2 bookings, they don't get the pan, but it's still great for them because they still get a half price item at their show. So, so that is day 2. The Hope group message is to tag guests. That's in the host group. So I'm just sending that. And I also praise the hosts that did their interactive post the day before. A big wahoo to Tangi, Mona, Preston, and Cindy for doing their awesome host post yesterday. If someone got creative, I'll call them out. Mona did her own creative post, and it was so great. Did you guys see how much interaction they got? It was such a great post for the show. And then I'll say, here's your next tip of the day to ensure your guests are taking advantage, tag them in the post. Then to my host individually, I do the challenge. And that's where, I challenge you to get 3 bookings, message 8, of your friends. And, are you up for the challenge? And like I said, 75 or 80% of my hosts are saying yes now, which is awesome. And then I give them the message to send, and it's all right here in the host coaching system. And again, when there's a break, like right here, that means I'm sending 2 messages. So it's really easy for them to copy and paste this without having to delete this, this second part. So I just think it's easier for hosts to do that if they don't have to like cut out some of the text. So whenever they're copying and pasting and forwarding, I make sure that what they're copying and pasting is alone, if that makes sense. All right. I keep up this time frame or this system, the individual messages and the host group message. So I choose to run a contest with my host groups. Anytime I have 4 or more shows in 1 week, I'll run a host contest. The top host gets an extra prize added to their party. It's just like some healthy competition. And so I usually do a $20 gift, and the host that wins is usually an 800 plus show. So it's, I'm making a ton of money. It's got that healthy competition going between the hosts, and I add an extra gift. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to, but that's how the host coaching is set up, is if you want to run a contest with 4 or more hosts in a week. I don't do the contest if there's not 4 in 1 week. All right, so basically that is it. I just wanted to touch base on one more thing about host coaching is I send my host 2 different messages through Messenger about the business. Day 3 is the first one. I'll say, Susie, here's your thought for today. I'd love for you to watch how little I do while running your parties. You can do this too and earn commission and free products from your couch. You could even use some of your free product value towards your kit, and that means it could cost as little as $49 to get started. I'm here to chat if you have any questions. You'll notice in that one, I do not ask her if she is interested yet. I'm just telling her, here's your thought for today. Here's something to think about. On day 6, I think, that's when I actually ask. I'm just scrolling through here. Day 6 of the show. The individual message is, I wanted to touch base on the business opportunity. I actually let them know if they're over 300 that they have the $25 kit credited, and if they're over 400 they have the $50 kit credit. If they haven't earned that, you can take that out, and you can say something like, you're really close to getting a $20 kit credit, or you're only $50 away from getting a $50 kit credit. And then I talk about the quick cooker and the ultimate kit, and I ask if they could use an extra $500 a month. $500 is on average what every new consultant tells me that they want to make, you guys. $500 to $1,000 a month. It's guaranteed, almost like clockwork when someone new starts. So asking someone, what would you do with an extra $500 a month, is a very valid question, because that's what a lot of times what our new consultants are making in their first month. So go ahead and ask that question. That gets people's minds turning on what they would do with some extra money. Okay. And then super important is I added the Fab 4 information to the host coaching system. So that is, I'm going to just scroll back. I think it's day 5. Yeah. So I have listed right here the Fab 4. Now, if you need any word choices or anything, that's in here. And if you need more examples, you can always search our team page and search for Fab 4. Fab, F-A-B as in boy, space, and the number 4. And it has all the information on Fab 4 there. And I'm going to do a fun little post on it this week, just with, you know, the changes that I got last week after doing Fab 4. I started it on day 5 like I was supposed to. I had 7 shows going. My sales went from 1,400, which is kind of terrible, right? With 7 shows, that's a $200 show average. That was what it was on day 5. It went from 1,400, you guys, to over 4,000 over the next 3 days. And that was all, I attribute half of it from the Fab 4. I was sending my host, having them send the messages. They were doing it. It was a huge, huge increase. I think we got 24 orders the first day, and then we got another, 15 orders or whatever the second day between all their shows. So it was amazing. And every time I do the Fab 4, you guys, it always adds hundreds to my shows, always. So if you're not doing it, give it a try in your virtuals, because it is huge, a huge game changer. So I added that to the host coaching system too. All right, so at 7:25, I want to make sure that we stay true to the time. I want to open it up for questions. So I'm going to stop my screen share. We're going to come back together. And if you guys have any questions on anything that we talked about today, the Fab 4, host coaching system, anything like that, I want to open it up for questions. If you have something that's been working for you that you've done that's a tweak or change to our host coaching system, and you've been noticing great results, we want to hear from you as well. So let us know if you have a tip that you would share with the team. We'd love that as well. So I'll open it up for questions for about 5 minutes, and then we'll end the recording. Anybody have any questions on how to use the host coaching system, what the Fab 4 is, what the host group is for the team? Any questions on anything we went over? I'm so glad I was so thorough. Just kidding.
Hey, Kelly. I'm just wondering if I missed it, or
sure.
Where do you talk to your host about what their personal goal is, or because
don't do that, but I think that's a great idea. When I used to do the phone call, I was better about asking, because it's in the phone call message. And I actually ask them, right in the beginning, oh my gosh, what's something that you're super excited about getting at a big discount? And if it's the cooking blender for 60% off, or, whatever they tell me, cookware, a piece of cookware that they want to get for free, then I would write that down in their show to kind of keep track of that. I need to do better now that I'm adding them to the example groups, like maybe when they first book, asking them like, hey, how much in free products would you like to get? Or do you have a specific goal for a product that you'd love to get at a big discount? I'm not as good about asking through Messenger what their host goal is. My personal goal for all my shows is I want all of them to hit a minimum of 500 and a max, I mean, ideally I'd like to be over 600. So that's kind of my goal when I do block parties, is I want on average them to hit around 500 in sales. And so last week when I did my 7, out of the 7 shows, I had one that only got $100. So I still have flops, even with doing the host coaching system. I had one show that was 200, but then all the rest were like 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9, I think. So between all of them, if it was like a 41, I think it was 4,100 in sales or something, it's a little over a $600 show average.
Right.
So anyway, so it works well. You know what I mean? Like I'm always hovering between the high 500s or low 600s for the show average. So that's kind of my goal, for them and stuff. But I think it's always great to ask the host their goals. So that's a great tip. Is that something that you do? Are you good about doing that, Chris?
No. And
it would be easy to do right when they book. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and sorry about the dogs. In the retreat, I noticed Cammie doesn't either, because she said, "Don't freak out when I put this great big goal," And really, my hosts don't have a problem with it. And they always get more orders. So.
And I always do between 200 and 300 more. So if they're sitting at 100, like Preston was this last week, I put that he's $200, $203. I always make it sound like it's not like just a general 200 flat. If they're sitting at 0 orders and you want their show to qualify, I'll put like she's $204 away from her goal or something like that. So it seems doable. 200 and 300 seems totally doable to a group of people. You know what I mean? And if you only put like $50, then they're like, oh, she only needs 1 more order. I don't need to worry about it. So you want to make it high enough where people want to help out, but low enough where it seems doable. So usually between that 200 and 300 range, that's what I'm tagging them when I do the Fab 4, because it's very doable. So if she's at 650, her goal is now 800. You know what I mean? Or 900. If she's at 0, then the goal is to get her qualified. So they're all usually really close, together, like between 200 and 300.
If I have time, I post them, the Fab 4, like I have different posts. So I do one for each host and then put the link in there. Absolutely. And then I also, if I have time, I update it.
Yeah, great. Awesome idea. That's a great tip. So so if they see she's getting closer or something like that, that's even better. Or a lot of times I'll even tell my host, oh my gosh, we just got another order. Those messages that you're sending out, they're working. When your host is doing what you're telling them and then you see the results, point it out, because that makes them all the more committed to doing the next tip. If you're like, send out this message, I promise it'll increase your numbers. And then you notice that 8 more people joined or 10 more people joined, let her know. Great job sending that message out. 8 more people joined your show. Now you're up to 25, or whatever. So it reinforced when they're doing a good job on something, that really makes them committed to doing the next tip you send. So I love that, Chris, updating them on where they are and, letting them know, oh my gosh, 2 more orders came in. Way to go on sending those messages. That's great. That reinforces. So great tip for sure. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, well, if you guys think of anything,
can I ask
you can always
a
reach
question?
out. Sorry. Yeah, Audrey, yes, question.
Sorry, being special.
No, go ahead.
Chaotic in my house. So I did a party last week that had 2 hosts in it, and one completely ghosted the party. Crazy. I mean, she wants to, it's crazy because I messaged her and I even discussed it with Chris, and the very last day of the party, she starts interacting and I'm like, what the, and I'm messaging and I know she's seeing my messages and nothing. And so I actually reached out to her. I do know her somewhat. And so I reached out and I was a little nervous at first to reach out to her. But she wants to actually have her sister do a live show.
Oh,
And so what she said to me was, well, what if we have, because she lives like 5 hours from me.
okay.
And she said, what if we have my sister do a live show and then I can see what she does and then I'll do one up in Cami Eye.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, well, are you wanting to join the business? And she's like, well, no, I hadn't thought of that. And I said, well, you have a consultant that runs your show for you, you know. And I said, is there a consultant up there in Cami Eye that you know or something? And she said, well, no. We're still waiting to see if that party gets booked. And she said possibly if we get that party booked, she'll talk about the business. But what do you do like when someone ghosts you like that? We ended up with a 0 party, and she does want to try.
That's what we talked about kind of in the beginning is, and I still
I missed that, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. That I still have hosts do that to me every once in a while. You know what I mean?
Okay.
In fact, one of the guests even noticed, because it was a friend that booked from hers. She's like, has Mary even been in the party? And I'm like, yeah, she hasn't been as active. I didn't want to talk bad about her friend,
Yeah.
you know, but at the same time, like I wanted to be truthful. So I was like, yeah, she hasn't been as active, you know, as you were, you know what I mean? Because like this was a host that was a rock star host that had like over $1,000 show and stuff. And this is what she said to me. I feel like she invited me to her house, and when I showed up for the party, she wasn't there. That's what the guest said. So
Oh, wow.
notice when their hosts are not present in their party. And that's one of the reasons why you really want to get them committed in the beginning by either doing that phone call or by having them look at the good show and the flop show example. And when you do one of those things, usually I would say 9 times out of 10, your host is committed. Now, if you've been doing the flop show examples and it's not working for you, try the phone call. If you've been using the phone call and it's not working for you, try the example groups. But you want to do one of those 2 things to get them committed to doing the tips. So, and a lot of times if I'll notice like a host isn't inviting or something like that, I'll go ahead and ask them like, hey, I noticed there's not anybody that has joined yet. Is this still a good week to host, or do you want me to move you back a week? Like it is not worth it to me to do a show and have the host not participate or not invite. You know what I mean? And the show that got $100 in orders this last week only had 19 people in the group. It's just not enough. You didn't invite enough people. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, so getting that commitment in the beginning, I would say is the best way to combat a host that's not doing what she's supposed to. But it's hard to, you know, when it's in the show and it's happening, there's not much you can do at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, so unfortunately the Fab 4 I would say would be your best bet at that point, you know, tagging her guests that joined and stuff like that. But in the beginning you really want to get them committed to doing the tips. And so that's when I do one of those 2 things at least a week and week and a half before the party is do a quick call with them or add them to the group so they can see the examples.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's my best tip I would say with that. Anybody else? Okay, so if you guys do think of any questions, let me know. I will upload that new host coaching system to our team page, and you guys are all welcome to use it. And then moving forward, definitely, like I said, try an idea that you haven't done yet. The phone call, adding them to the examples, the host group, tagging your hosts. There's all so many different ways that you can do host coaching and do a good job with staying in touch with your hosts. But it all comes down to getting them committed in the beginning. And if you don't get them committed in the beginning, it will make a huge difference on your party. So anyway, try a couple of those ideas, see if it works for you. We'd love to hear about it in the team page. And always, if you have any questions or problems or something's not working, always reach out to me. We want to keep the team page really positive. And so, feel free to reach out privately, and I'm happy to help anybody that's struggling. And then if I feel like it's something that the whole team could use, then we can switch to doing a post in the team page about it, and stuff too. But definitely reach out if something's not working or you're struggling with something. And you guys know that me and the other directors on the team are here to help you. So good luck with your shows, and good luck with host coaching. I'll upload the video to the team page, and you guys can watch the replay if you want. And then I'll also upload the host coaching system as well. All right. Bye, guys.